Here we go again.
March's edition of the podcast.
How many is that now? We've just done a bloody lot of these now.
Podcast?
Crikey, must be
670 odd. Yeah, I think so.
We're catching Coronation Street up, aren't we?
Yes.
Fucking hell.
What, in terms of
How boring it is.
Yeah.
How crap it is, yeah.
monotonous garbage? The northern ramblings of...
Yeah, we've probably got... Yeah, to be honest, yeah. No cash changes yet, though, so we're all right.
No. You know what I saw on Facebook before? Not that I frequent it too often these days, but there was a... from the first day of lockdown, Boris Johnson announced it, and then obviously like all the TV changed, and there was a meditate with Ken Barlow thing on day one. That was like
What, of lockdown?
yeah, first day of lockdown.
Meditate with Ken Barlow.
Apparently.
Roach, what was he called?
Ken
Thomas
Roach,
Roach,
yeah.
Pat Roach.
Some fish-related name anyway.
Johnny Stickleback.
Yeah. So yeah, apparently that's that was a thing that happened.
Is that still going?
I doubt it.
I'd love to. I'm going to, one day when I really have nothing else better to do, to look back in sort of 10, 15 years' time at some of the bonkers stuff that went on during lockdown. And like have to explain it to like
I know, yeah.
your kids who were there during lockdown, like Lila or Phoebe or whatever. And then when they've grown up a little bit and understand the ways of the world, they'll just think it was bizarre.
Probably.
Bonkers, really, won't they?
It is, I mean, yeah, that it actually happened, all that.
Yeah, that's the thing that gets me is the if there was a thing on the news after a few weeks of it or whatever, I can't remember how long it lasted, however long it was, lockdown, and it was on like Good This Morning or something, Phil Schofield, and it was like, and we're cutting, and John in Kettering has made this amazing invention, and it was like a flipping framework, and it was like a plastic shower curtain with two armholes in it.
Oh yeah.
And he could like hug his mum or his gran.
Yeah.
And it was like this clear piece of plastic, and
mental.
everybody's going, "This is amazing."
I know.
And we're going, "This isn't. This is."
Yeah, it's fucked up, innit?
But we're all sat at home going, "Wow, that's amazing! That's amazing!"
Well, there was a bit of me.
Fucking crazy,
I know. Yeah, I mean, there's so many
now
different
hug
things
his
in it,
gran.
Queuing up around bloody Tesco, spaced out around the car park, and
40 bog rolls each.
Yeah, toilet roll and garlic bread was rationed.
We all know that when there's a nuclear attack, what the currency's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be toilet roll.
It's going to be bog paper, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hey?
Just load up on newspapers. Crazy times.
Can't wipe your ass with a £10 note, can you?
Well,
we
won't get into the physics of
of wiping your bum with shiny paper.
Anyway, right. This is the podcast, and
It is indeed.
we're Massive Wagons. Well, two of them, anyway.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk... Well, before we get into what we're going to talk about today, just a couple of shout-outs for some stuff we've got coming up.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing a festival, spiffing festival called Mayor's Fest.
We are.
And it's at KK Steel Mill.
Great venue.
On the 5th. We're playing on the 5th of April. Saturday the 5th. And it's going to be a great set. We've got a good set planned. And a great set of bands playing. Virgin Marys are playing. Our pals at Virgin Marys. Karma Effect.
Yeah, Hollow
Star. So it's going to be a solid lineup.
Yeah, it's good.
Find your tickets, type Mayor's Fest into your search engine of choice, and we'll see you there. If you're in the Midlands, it should be a fantastic day.
Never had a bad gig at KK's. Nah. This is the building was built for a great atmosphere. Yeah. It's just a great rock venue.
It is. It is excellent. I mean, genuinely, we've played a fair few venues, and it's one that
we played some shit
on. we'll if we get the chance, that's where we'll do tour rehearsals and things because it's such a great space to be in.
It is, yeah.
So there's that, and then we are in the EU from the 19th to the 4th of May, I think.
May the 4th.
And we're all over the place: Germany, Austria, Hungary. Switzerland. Yeah. I think that's it, actually. So we're not actually all over the place, but we're in some
doing the best we can.
We're in some of the places.
Yeah.
So we're out there for a couple of weeks, and with our good buddies Airstrike, if you're an EU watcher. Then
Formosa.
Formosa, yeah.
Not played with them guys yet, have we? But good band. Great band.
They're doing a few. I think they're doing all the German shows as well. And then in May, we're doing the 16th, 17th, and 18th and 19th. Back in the UK, we're doing... Oh, here we go. Cambridge, Cardiff, Leeds, Newcastle.
Aye.
Maybe not in that order.
Can you bag a Tudor?
Yeah, we're doing them four cities, and that should be great. Also with Airstrike, they're joining us, and In Me.
Yes. Yeah.
Great band. You know what? They're a band I remember from back in the day, being quite a sort of Porcupine Tree kind of, like thinking man's kind of rock. Not like our caveman shit.
They're a great band. Yeah. They're great. I've been listening to them quite a bit lately, to be honest.
So that's a solid gold line. Well, until we come on, it's a solid gold lineup.
Yeah.
So yeah, give that a look if you fancy it. And if you did come in November to watch us, it's going to be a completely different set, different stage show, different lights,
different guys,
different band members, everything.
Can't be asked.
Yeah. No, it's going to be great. Can't wait for that one. It's going to be a bish bash bosh kind of jobber, isn't it?
Yeah. Four gigs back to back is.
It's good. Old school.
Fast and Furious.
So, to the point then.
To the point.
We're going to talk about today.
We'll get there in the end. What are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about underrated bands. Underrated bands, or I suppose what we, in our opinion, are underrated bands.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, I guess your definition of underrated is, that might vary from person to person.
It is. I agree. Exactly. From person to person, and also some. I think. Well, in a lot of cases, some underrated bands are only underrated because of the time they were about, and what other bands at the time would have been seen as their rivals.
Yeah,
if you like.
I know what you mean.
Because I've had to write a list because I'm shit at remembering things, but I've got one on my list that some would argue one of the biggest bands, most influential bands of all time, but because of the bands that were around at the same time.
Oh. It's not Oasis, is it?
I'll leave you. No, we're not going down that. I've pissed people off enough mentioning that band over the years. I know when to wind my neck in about Oasis. No, but yeah, because of the bands that were around at the time, I think they were possibly underrated.
Okay.
But maybe that's my opinion.
Well, there's different kinds of, like you say, there's different kinds of underrated, isn't there? Like, also, like, I don't ever want it to sound like an insult, to the musician, to the artists themselves. It's almost like saying, no one knows who you are, but I do. No one appreciates you, but I appreciate you.
I think I sometimes think being underrated is a greater compliment. Yeah,
in the way that we probably mean it.
Oh yeah. In a band that deserve 10 times more attention. No, attention isn't based on talent, is it?
No, of course.
We all know that, but yeah, they deserve to be 10 times bigger and 10 times more focused on than they ever were, maybe.
Okay. Well, to be honest, we had the idea for this podcast. I did anyway. I don't know if this is one of the bands you were going to mention, but I'll just say
I can guarantee you, I put money on. Hang on a minute. I bet. There could possibly be 3 of the 5 bands on my list that we both have on the same list.
Right, okay.
Possibly. I reckon one will 100% be on there.
Yeah, probably. I think I might know what you're on about.
Yeah.
But anyway, the band that kind of triggered this sort of thought off was we just played a festival on a boat in America, the Monsters of Rock Cruise.
Oh, right, yeah.
And watched Tesla, a band called Tesla.
Nearly put them on my list.
Because I think they are... We'll not talk about them too much, but they're a very successful band. Sold millions of albums. Don't get me wrong, but they're kind of not an amazing songs and amazing live, but they're kind of not mentioned in the same breath of the similar hard rock kind of bands that that were around at the same time.
Aerosmith and
exactly,
whatnot.
That southern tinged kind of good, solid rock. I don't know how to describe it really, but Tesla anyway, they were fantastic. If you ever get a chance to watch them,
a little bit about Tesla. I didn't realise. I mean, I listened to I seen them downloading about 2009, whenever it was. Leathered. I don't really remember. I listened to the big songs before and loved them. I didn't realise just how much I reckon if you sat down with the Black Crowes and said, I reckon you are majorly influenced by Tesla.
Wow, that's I think someone did mention that, and that. Watching them live now, I think,
especially the slow songs, Love Song, and
they've got a lot more. They've got a lot more country. I think, perhaps that's an age thing though. They've they've aged well. Do you know what I mean? And the songs are just translating differently, but still good.
Works so well without. They don't have to, like on that boat. They didn't have to put. It wasn't all guns blazing. It wasn't power and volume and distortion. It was just
great songs.
Class.
Yeah.
And you don't need all that to substitute for great songs.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's you've nailed it really. If you can still do it in your sort of 50s, 60s, and
but we spoke to their sound guy and said, "Oh, Tesla were brilliant," and he went, "Yeah, that's got fuck all to do with them."
So he
was a legend.
Egotistical sound guys. That should be a podcast episode.
Oh dear.
No, but they're Frank Hannon's an amazing guitar player, and what's his name? Keith. Singer, yeah.
I don't know his name. I can
very good.
I can
very
see
good.
on that board.
They've aged super well. You can see his teeth anyway, blimey.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Those are fantastic teeth.
Even that SG.
Frank Hannon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brian...
Not many can get away with that double-necked SG, really, can they?
No,
you put one of them out and you got to do something. And
got to do something good, yeah.
And he does it, yeah.
Brian Wheat is the bass player as well. I think it's completely original, other than the second guitar player.
Definitely his hair.
Yeah,
it's his hair.
He yanked it like
He gets some stick online. I think of that
for his hair. That's funny. That though, it looks a bit like is it Derek Smalls? You know, I think
yeah, he does. Yeah,
he's got that bass kind of retro bass look about him.
Yeah, brilliant.
I love that.
Yeah. I love the going on about them, aren't we? But they are great. I love that. I love how he seamlessly does you've talked about doing it, the acoustic thing on the stand and the electric. I've always don't see it very often. I've always thought, it's a bit of a risk to take doing that. But nah, he nails it, doesn't he?
Well, I mean,
suits the songs and everything.
Yeah, it's a cool trick that I like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you want to kick us off with a band then?
Should I kick us off with an underrated band on my list? Shall we go for? All right. Okay. What are your favourite bands? Thunder.
Yeah. Was that the one?
Was
it not really?
No. I thought that was just 2 or 3 that I think are probably on the same list. But
yeah,
that's.
I would say so. I think. I'm a huge fan of Thunder, and I don't know. It's just their blend of hard rock. They've got some solid riffs, but also the melodies there and the power. But they also could be quite diverse as well. You know, the ballady songs aren't too sickly. Do you know what I mean?
No, they're not. No, I agree.
Amazing voice.
They're very, very tasteful songs, aren't they?
I mean, Thunder's the combination of Luke Morley's songwriting, Danny Bowe's voice, and 5 amazing musicians. You know, it's just, again, it's class to me. I think they are just one of the classiest bands around.
Yeah, they're very they're old school in their sound, aren't they? Like there's no gubbins going on. It's all the instruments playing, and Luke Morley's guitar sound is amazing, and the guy's an amazing guitar player. Yeah, and then they're all really, really nice guys, aren't they? We've played a few shows with them over the years. I put a post out on Patreon this morning about the Germany tour we did with them.
Oh yeah,
it was
there was our baptism of fire into Europe. That was.
Oh my God, 8 blokes in a transit van for 2 weeks or wherever long it was. It was horrific. But as bad as I was saying in the post, as bad as the all that was, the lack of sleep, the lack of food, the lack of all that showers, the fact that it was so amazing on the other flip side of the coin made that all bearable, didn't it? Yeah, because it was good. But to watch them every night was and to see behind this, when you're a fan and you see behind the scenes and what they're like behind the curtain and that before they go on stage is sound check and all that. Yeah, amazing. Very kind of similar, and. They were a good band. They were a good band to learn that side of things off as well. They were very, very gracious with the time, with the punters, people fans, who came to watch the band. They come out after the gig, don't they? Yeah. Not many bands do. Not many bands do that, do they? They came and they don't. I suppose, no disrespect, but they're at the stage in their career where they maybe don't have to do that. But they did. They came out, after the show and mingled with fans and talked to everyone for a good hour or two. Whatever. And they've been like that since day one as well. Like they really valued the whole fan club thing, the whole following, feeling part of it, part of something, and it's genuine as well. It's not like they weren't going, "Oh, we best go and bloody do this." It was just what they do. It's part. You can tell they enjoy talking to people, and talking about music, and they stood and talked to us, idiots. They must, they must have a certain amount of patience, and of course, they famously, because Danny mentions it on radio on Planet Rock a bit, doesn't he? Famously kicked in the knackers by grunge music, which which was, and don't forget they were on top of. I mean, I'm not as follow them as much as you have over the years, but I remember watching the Top of the Pops 2 a while ago and seeing them on Top of the Pops and being like, I didn't know they were on Top of the Pops.
Yeah.
I didn't know it got to that stage, like, pardon my ignorance, but
Yeah.
it's like, wow.
I think first couple of albums,
Cool, that.
I think the first 3 albums, second album did really well. I think it got number 2 in the charts. And I think it was like Kylie Minogue or something that topped it that week. And then the album afterwards, which was really in the thick of grunge, this is when like 94 or 95. So, it's flannel shirts and all that kind of stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
And Thunder are still kind of doing what bands were doing in the 80s.
Yeah.
And a lot of bands had completely, died a death by that point.
Yeah.
A lot of those 80s not that Thunder are a hair metal band, but like
Yeah.
American-inspired rock bands, the kind of
soaring choruses,
exactly
melodies, a bit of flamboyance.
It wasn't done at all.
Oh.
And Thunder maintained a healthy kind of level of success through all that. So it kind of makes you think,
How could it have gone?
if it had all just been shifted 5 years earlier, I think it would have been a completely different story.
You got to imagine it was like the double barrel shotgun the 90s. It was like grunge, and then the fucking indie bands came on.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
what have we got to do? But then, if all the other bands had knocked it on the head and Thunder was still flying the flag, then they were the go-to band for those. Because trends change, but hardcore fans don't change, do they? You know what
Exactly.
I mean?
Yeah.
The fans of that music are still there. We were on that Monsters of Rock cruise. You can still see that.
Yeah, well,
The people are still an appetite for it, isn't there?
well, this is maybe it's its own podcast topic in itself, but radio, you just got no radio support. I've talked to, I guess Thunder is a great example because I've talked to them in person about this exact thing, and they freely share this information. But radio just basically wouldn't play them, and it was just because they were not seen as being, the in
Trendy,
thing.
yeah.
And that's especially at that time, it's probably less important now with in the world of streaming and all that. But
that's it.
back then, you had that, or you had that was it. You had radio. That was how you got in front of people.
Yeah. That's it. Radio was so important then, wasn't it? Like I say, it's not so much now, is it? It's it's an interesting one. But I think Thunder, not not underrated in any sort of terms.
Everyone who knows about Thunder knows how good they are.
Exactly.
It's that kind of thing, isn't it? Really.
Exactly.
It's just not enough people know. So if you don't, go and check them out.
Amazing. Loser. What a tune. We went through a stage of that song, like flipping. Did we ever cover that?
I can't remember. Don't think so.
I think we talked about it. I don't think we've ever covered a Thunder song, have we? Which is odd, isn't it? Really, because being as how we all like a bit of Thunder, we used to play covers a long time ago.
Yeah, and we played
bloody AC/DC and Black.
I know. We played
fucking Airborne.
We played some off the beaten grid songs. I don't know why we didn't do any Thunder, but I don't know. It's one of them bands, really. But what a legacy to have, and unfortunately, Danny Bowes is. He's not singing at the moment. He had an accident a few years ago. So Thunder, I believe, are on kind of a hiatus. But Luke Morley is off doing his solo stuff, which is great, Yeah,
well, him and Harry James are playing with Choir Boys, aren't they?
Yeah, I didn't even know. I think it might have been you that told me that. I didn't realise Harry was.
I didn't till recently.
Harry's doing that. I know Ben.
She's good, isn't it?
Benny's he's an engineer in his own right, so I think that's his kind of thing. And Chris plays bass with pretty much everybody. So
I was talking to Chris on the boat.
Yeah.
Last week, he was playing with Ty Keto.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never spoke to him before. I didn't speak to him on that tour. But what a lovely guy. He was asking us all about Patreon and
he's a top guy.
Giving us some things that they've done over the years for content creation and that. Yeah, they're a really open book, aren't they? Really, it's just great guys.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, Thunder. There you go, number one.
Anyone else?
Have you got one? Or do you want me to
well, I
another one off my list.
I could. No, go on. You go. Go on.
We've got a couple of biggies.
Go on. Now, let's get the big hitters out of the way.
A big one. All right, then this is the band I was on about before. I think a massive band, massively influenced loads of bands, but probably underrated in terms of who they were up against at the time. The Kinks.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. There's that thing in there about the Beatles and the Stones, really, isn't it? And I think that era was completely engulfed by the Beatles and the Stones, and the bands like maybe the Who and the Kinks. I suppose it's what the appetite was at the time for that sort of music. I'm not dismissing the Beatles or the Stones for what they did, but I think the Kinks, the fucking songs are just incredible.
No, you're right.
The songwriting, the lyrics, being a guy who writes words, are just unbelievable, just absolutely fantastic.
Ahead of its time, innit?
Ahead of its time, yeah. And I just think they maybe didn't quite get the credit they deserved because Beatlemania and everything else was maybe sweeping the world. And I would also argue, that I would probably give me Dave Davis with the Les Paul and Jimmy Page with the Les Paul.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? They go about Jimmy Page being like the low-slung Les Paul player, and you see him with it. Dave Davis with the Les Paul, and I don't know what the time span is. I've tried to find out about who did it first. Maybe Jimmy Page did it more prolifically and did it.
Well, he was in the Yardbirds, wasn't he? I reckon that's more like the kind of the mid-late 60s sort of era.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you've got
there's a music video somewhere of the Kinks, and David Davis is playing, and he's got the Les Paul, and he's got the Les Paul really low, and it's like, when was that? Because that whole thing is about Jimmy Page and his Les Paul, and,
I know,
and playing it dead low, and he influenced so many people playing it like that. But I've seen David Davis play the Les Paul like that before. Now I don't know if he copied that off somebody or he was doing that. I don't know.
Maybe his strap was broken.
Maybe
or something.
it was.
It was one of them accidents.
Also played the Flying V as well.
Yeah, well,
Dave Davis.
I was just going to actually say Mark Bolan, T-Rex. Yeah. He had the same sort of kind of style, didn't he? I'm sure he played a Flying V as well.
He did play Flying V, you're right, yeah.
Yeah,
but
well,
anyway, but the Kinks.
The Kinks songs. Do you think maybe they were a little too English? Do you know why they maybe didn't get?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah, that's I never really thought of that. Now you mention it, yeah, maybe that's why I like them so much is because I am English. But yeah, and that's why the big songs. You really got me. Matey Boy covered that, didn't he? Yeah, what's he called? Van Halen singer. Fucking.
What Van Halen covered
gone.
it?
Was it Van Halen?
Van Halen?
It wasn't.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. Lee Roth. No.
Lee Roth, was it not? Was it a Van Halen cover?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It was on their first album.
Well, there you go. Then I suppose that would have been that's translated really well to the American market, hasn't it? But
I think I read though that he wasn't a fan, like Ray and
of Van Halen,
Davis of the cover. Yeah. Well, then
I mean, either. I think it's crap.
No, I'm not. No, it's probably the worst song on that first album. But but
the fact that they did it,
yeah, exactly, paying homage.
Absolutely. But yeah, no, the other Village Green Society and Dead End Street and all that. It's
Lola.
It's maybe
singing about cross-dressing, or was it?
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Transgender, stuff in the bloody 60s. That's
it's quite incredible, really, isn't it?
Pretty, and
I think stuff, really, isn't it?
And I think in a quite tasteful way, like for its time, it's not.
I agree.
Very good. I agree. The Kinks, and like, are they the band that you were saying that they're like your favourite band's favourite band?
I think so. Yeah. I've read that a few times actually.
Yeah, they're always cited by.
I read a comment online before when I was sort of doing a bit of research, and it said they are the band that musicians play at parties to other bands.
Yeah, that's yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that is the reason. Maybe they were a little bit niche. The Beatles, a bit more general, weren't they? And the Rolling Stones is a bit more general and a bit more sort of open to imagination. Whereas the Kinks, it was like they were singing about life in this country, weren't they? And I suppose people in America or wherever maybe can't really identify with it as much.
Did they have a bit of a mod thing going on as well?
The Kinks, I think so. Yeah. Well, they were smartly dressed, weren't they? They had smart haircuts.
Very, very like the Who, I thought.
Yeah, Kinks, I think so. Yeah. I think those two bands for me. Give me those two bands really over the, and it's not bad. I know
over the Stones or the Beatles.
Yeah, for me anyway. I mean, there's no real rhyme or reason for it, but
I'd probably agree.
I'd rather listen to get into those two bands than the Beatles and the Stones, really.
Yep, I think I'd.
I mean, maybe if you were around at the time, the Beatles or the Stones were the big bands. If you were a youngster at that time, but having grown up generations apart from that, looking back,
maybe we should do an episode on overrated bands. That would be
overrated bands.
Well, then you really are throwing the snake amongst the pigeons. Well. But again, though, I mean, like when you say bands are overrated, it can be like when you sort of put it in context. People always do this Black Sabbath or Led Zeppelin thing, and I'd say Deep Purple.
Well,
so how would? Oh, really? Deep Purple, are they one?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
They're on
right,
that list, yeah.
But that sounds ridiculous to say that Deep Purple are underrated.
I know.
Everyone in the world knows who Deep Purple are, but. Yeah, definitely. When it comes to who's on the podium, they'd be pretty near the top for
I would
me.
say so, but I do think again, Deep Purple. They're not underrated, but they are underrated. Well, yeah, when you put them up against Led Zeppelin, I suppose,
or Sabbath,
Sabbath, it seems to be. There's no reason for it. I don't know. Maybe I think maybe because they're a little bit more of. They're seen maybe more of an anal. The more more of a sort of musician's band. Do you know what I mean? They're more technical at what they do.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Maybe they were a little too jammy. I don't know.
Maybe they didn't. It's hard to explain. Maybe they didn't appeal to a broader market. They didn't appeal to a pop market. A younger. Maybe they were more of more like the Kinks, more of a musicians.
Yeah, I think
band,
you're right. Actually, there. I mean, obviously we weren't there, but that's retrospectively that seems to be what it's like. Yeah, the whole highbrow music snobbery that seems to follow Led Zeppelin around, to pick a band at random. It doesn't seem to be sort of attached to Deep Purple really.
No.
And in terms of pure hard rock kind of power, it doesn't really get any more like Highway Star,
I mean, am I right to say Deep Purple are underrated? Probably not, to be honest. When you explain about, they were the biggest band in the world at one time, weren't they?
Well, I don't know actually, because when
they did that California Jam thing.
Yeah, Sabbath played before them actually at that, so maybe that is some sort of indication. But it's more like since, isn't it? There's other bands that seem to be enshrined in this godly kind of status.
Yeah. Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin.
The darlings of there seems to be the I don't know. It's like they're like a click. It's like a click band, isn't it? It's like you say that band and people know them, and they think, oh, we like Led Zeppelin. You must be really cool. Oh, you really like them. And
I do like Led Zeppelin actually. As I get older,
there's nothing. No.
As I get older, I'm getting more into
crap music.
I hate this expression. It's such a wishy-washy expression. I appreciate it, but I do feel like it's. I do feel like I'm hearing the things I never used to hear. Like I used to listen purely for the song and the hook, which there's not too many hooks in a lot of Led Zeppelin stuff. But when you really dig into the sounds, it's like, God, this sounds good. It sounds like those drums are like.
Oh wow, yeah, him and your man on bass guitar.
John Paul Jones. Yeah,
undeniably incredible musicians.
And Robert Plant, as you know.
Do you know what? The penny's dropped. I'm finally understanding why people hate Oasis and I don't like Led Zeppelin. Yeah. I am the person who doesn't like Led Zeppelin for the same reason people don't.
A lot of people don't like Oasis.
I just don't like I can't listen to Led Zeppelin for me. You have to listen to the music for you, and you have to put everything associated with the band to one side. It's not their fault that they are the darlings of the rock world and everybody blows smoke up their ass. I need to put all that to one side and listen to it purely for me. It's like it's the same thing I say with Oasis. Listen to the all right, people aren't going to like them anyway, but you listen to the songs for you and don't listen to them through the ears of the fans that you don't like.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
We're
all susceptible to that though, aren't we? We're pretty fucking boring if we all loved everything, and that's why I hate like that. It's not my thing, but I appreciate it. Well, it's like, it's not your thing then, you don't have to appreciate everything.
No.
Like disco music. That's just
disco.
Makes no sense at all.
I feel bad. You know what? I think this Led Zeppelin thing for me, it's just become a bad habit, and I just play on it because I think it's funny and it winds people. But I don't dislike Led Zeppelin. I think they're amazing, and they are incredible. And I've got loads of their albums, and I have.
Anyway, we're talking about underrated bands.
Bands, not
they don't need any bigging up.
They don't know.
Hey everyone, just want to say a big thank you for watching. And if you want to check out our Patreon page, it's over at patreon.com/Massive Wagons. Over there, we've got lots of cool stuff going on. We've got early access on merch, lots of other online content, loads of videos, guitar lessons, and also private gigs, including the Patreon Bash. Check it out.
Welcome back. Yeah, before we carry on, as part of Wagons World, at the end of every month, we do a lyric sheet draw. Everybody in Wagons World, I write their names on a little piece of paper and I put them in the tin. in Bradbury's dry roast. Big shout out to Bradbury's dry roasted peanuts. I don't know if Bradbury's
Not
still
even
make.
KP.
Did I? I'm a tight ass. What can I say? This is from Christmas about 5 years ago, and it was the only suitable sort of container I could find at the time. So I can't be asked changing it, so that's what we're stuck with. Everybody that joins Wagons Well goes in here, and every month for a bit of fun, I pull. So we used to do a live stream, and we pull a name out, and they win a lyric sheet, a handwritten lyric sheet, whatever song they want. Not Bohemian Rhapsody or a fucking Led Zeppelin song or anything like that. It's got to be a Wagons track. Sign it, send some stuff. It's all cool. So we're gonna start doing that on the podcast, and I'm gonna take the lid off, and you're gonna pull a name out. Stick your hand. Oh my word! This is not cheating.
Wow, no.
Stick your hand in there and pull a name out, and read out who's on the name. Who have you got?
Wow. McDernian.
McDernian.
An original.
An original. Has been with us a long time.
Yep.
There you go, Mick. Yeah. I'll drop you an email, mate.
Hold that up just to prove it.
Just to prove it's.
If you can see this micro writing.
It was printed. I'll show everyone his email address.
Was it on there? All right.
Yeah. Cover that up. Just prove we're not cheating.
I can't focus on it. Go on, focus. It's not focusing. It's not working. Anyway.
No, you'll have to take our word for it. There you go, Mick. I'll drop you an email, mate, and let me know what song
Is he
you
going
want.
back in?
No, I don't go back in. Christ almighty, no. Go in.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Give somebody else a chance to win. Eventually, everybody will win, won't they? That's why.
Well, yeah, in 300 or 350 podcast time. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's a thought that counts, isn't it?
Bloody hell. Yeah. Anyway, that's
well done, Mick.
That's that. Well done, Mick.
Head over to the website and check out the shop immediately, where all this wonderful stuff is for sale. Woo! Woo! Emporium of Magic. Yeah, Deep Purple, they're just unfairly. They just sort of seem to sit in the shadow a little bit, don't they? I don't think they really care. I don't think Richie Blackmore cares about anything because he's so unbelievably cool. He doesn't care, does he?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, like, yeah, I don't like, there's nothing like, you can be underrated, and that's cool to be underrated, but if you're bitter, because you feel like you missed out, or, you
he's
feel like
bitter
you're not
about the right
appreciated.
things, though, isn't it, that make him hilarious?
I don't believe a lot of it. I think it's all a bloody...
He plays it up.
Yeah, of course he does.
I think he's amazing.
Certainly.
I love it.
Well, he's been doing his own thing for the last 30 odd years anyway, so,
And the band are still going. And the band are still raved about. Deep Purple.
Deep Purple, yeah,
and they're still chart-topping.
Still doing arenas. Still doing, yeah. And it's all new music. I think I mentioned this in another podcast that I looked at the set list from their last tour, and it's all 90% off the last couple of albums. How cool is that?
That's ballsy.
And no one's out there saying they were rubbish. It's just I don't know. I have a lot of time for them. Ian Gillan's class, Roger Glover's class, Ian Pace's class, Don Airy class, and who's playing guitar with him now? It's the Northern Irish fella, Simon McBride. Fantastic player. Not a world-renowned kind of guitar player, but that's also kind of cool.
Yeah.
He's a world-class musician, but they haven't gone for the name.
The easy choice.
What I mean? Yeah,
they could have had anybody.
Could have had anyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
except Richie Blackmore.
yeah.
Because he's off doing his own thing.
Because he's off.
Does what he wants.
Playing his lute.
But yeah. No, yeah. Let us know what you think about Deep Purple. That's a. Yeah. I maybe change my mind on it. I don't know, but yeah, I think maybe they do fall into the slightly underrated character.
I do. Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. It's all about context. Underrated, not compared next to us,
No.
but next to other legends of the era.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Do you want another one? Or have you got one?
No, you go. I'll chip in at the end.
I'm on a roll.
This is working well.
Well, I've got two more.
Okay.
We can briefly gloss over sort of one if we can.
Okay.
10cc.
All right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I'm kind of not massively familiar with them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I didn't realise until relatively the last few years that they're from flipping. I think they're from
Manchester.
Stockport,
Yeah.
which blew my mind.
Yeah.
Completely blew my mind. I did not know that. I don't know why I thought they were American. I just had no. And I think we were at the studio. I've listened to this big songs and the big singles, the Rubber Bullets and all that, Dreadlock Holiday, and Colin Richardson was the one that said watch the documentary about them. There's a documentary on YouTube called "I'm Not in Love," which is obviously their biggest song. I'm not in love.
What's the original singer's name? It's like a French kind of name, isn't it?
Yes. Is it? Oh,
because he left quite early on, didn't he?
I don't know.
Like they did a bunch of these really iconic albums, and then he.
But I remember watching this documentary and being absolutely blown away by the band. They recorded. Oh, I've written some notes about. I was going to show it. Well, I wrote a few notes down. I remember watching the documentary and about how they recorded that song. I'm Not in Love. You know the song I mean. The sort of, it's sort of a ballady song.
Yeah, I know that one.
And they recorded it. This should be up your street. They recorded it over. They played a guitar track to it, and they were like, "Yeah, the song's all right, but it's just missing something. It needs." This was in like the 70s, so like the mid-early 70s. It needs something. It's missing something. So they recorded three weeks of three of the members going ah. And they were recording the R's for as long as they could hold they could breathe.
Right.
They did 3 weeks of that. And recorded it all onto a 16-track recorder.
Okay.
And they ended up with 622 voices and covered up all the notes, the whole range of notes. So they had them all going, ah, ah. And then they all sat at the desk, the huge desk. So this is all on tapes.
Yeah.
So it was all on like.
Yeah, there's no Pro Tools.
I shuddered to imagine how much that would have cost, because that tape cost a fortune in the day. I'm sure.
And also the editing, you have to cut all that and then run it through and re-record that onto.
It was all on like a continuous loop, and they put it all into this 16-track recorder. And they're all sat there. They're all sat there with all the notes, and they all had faders, and they're playing the faders like a keyboard.
Oh, I see. Like so pushing the. Wow.
Now. And then that's over the whole track. And now, to me, in 1970 odd, if that isn't forward thinking and being innovative, that is. Well, I mean, they obviously explain it a lot better than I do, because I just watched it and was blown away by the ingenuity and the like.
Well, that would be hard to do now. Not hard, but it would be. To someone suggested doing that now, sampling all the voices and then putting them on some sort of MIDI controller,
Would you spend though?
But spending all that time
all
to do
that. On something that might not work.
Yeah.
And all that money.
Tens of thousands of pounds.
Ballsy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I've often thought, do you think the fact that we have so much great technology now, it sort of
scoop the creativity?
Because it's like you're not forced to sort of
think outside the box.
And
yeah, definitely. That's
gone off topic a little bit.
No, but like just one other anecdote about, Fat Lip by Sum 41.
Oh, yeah.
They recorded to tape with that as well. And there's like a flange effect, and sorry for the word, I know it's triggering to some people, but there's a line in the middle where he says, "The doctor said my mum should have had an abortion," and then it like loops around, and then it like does this aeroplane kind of swoop sort of noise. That was a tape thing. It's like they did it with tape machines, and it was like the phase relationship between two bits of tape that they had to time that synchronized when the singing came back in, for the chorus. I don't want to waste. And but yeah, anyway, that's the thing. But but
for such a small part of the song,
exactly, yeah,
to put so much effort in,
probably took a day,
yeah, to think that is going to be such an integral part of the song when they could quite easily have just gone.
Just do it. Yeah,
let's just fucking rock into the chorus.
But the point is that was what was that 2021, 2 or something like that.
Right, yeah, wow.
So they could have, I dare say the plugins would have been available for that kind of thing, but now they just decide to do it. I know bands. I know, straight off topic, bands who can afford it really do record to tape still, and I think Slash does actually.
Does he really?
They did a couple of albums on tape, and
not short of £1 or £2, is he?
Well, no, that's that's it's a thing because it's like, well, you're committing. You can't keep re-recording over and over a tape because it degrades.
Yeah.
So it's like your take is your take.
Yeah.
You might get another go at it, but then once you can't keep recording over it. So the old VHSs when you got like 50 your Coronation Street tape,
Yeah. But I love ingenuity and bold people who are brave. Yeah, the documentary, the drummers said that there was no bad ideas. If anybody had an idea, they would give it. I think they had their own studio, Strawberry Studios it was called. It must have been around Manchester somewhere. And it must have been ace to be around, to be that creative and just go in there with your mates and just spend all day in there trying all these crazy things and how come and that song, the guitar player said It was just a stroke of luck from the gods it just came together like that, and it just went to number one and was just absolutely colossal for him, But then you look at their other songs, Dreadlock Holiday and flipping Rubber Bullets, they're the big ones, and they're so different. I love that as well. I love that. The braveness.
Yeah, Rubber Bullets is good. Yeah.
They're just so brave to do these wildly different styles of music and still have hits with them all.
Yeah. Sorry, it just reminded me when I think Alex sang that Rubber Bullets in karaoke and sang Rubber Johnnies every time. Every time he did it. It just reminded me. Load up your Rubber Johnnies.
Oh dear. Anyway, 10cc.
10cc is a good one. Yeah. I didn't expect that.
No, but a little band from Stockport setting out against the world. It's crazy. I suppose identify a little bit with that being from round here, if you like, a bit,
Yeah, northern.
It makes no difference where you're from, but you can sort of see what they're up against, can't you? Back in the 70s, all these colossal rock bands.
Yeah, good band.
Yeah. Lastly, we've got the last one.
Go on then.
I bet you can guess what it is, can't you?
Don't know actually. I am kind of drawing a bit of a blank, really.
It's the one I would have thought you would 100% have had on your list. We talk about them quite a lot.
On here? Or do they crop up?
No, they do crop up quite a lot.
Is it UFO?
It is UFO.
Yeah.
Probably the most underrated of all time.
I would have. Yeah, I thought you were talking about UFO, but then for some reason there, yeah. Well, again,
go.
Again, it's a bit not maybe not quite like the Deep Purple thing, but a little bit like the Deep Purple thing in most rock. Well, every rock fan really knows who UFO are, and they know some of the songs, but yeah, they're not immortalized, like
no.
Like other bands are. Yeah, and they bloody should be.
Yeah.
Maybe that's down to maybe I think they'd probably tell you, the ones that are still around, that it was their own fault, like their own instability and they
squandered it a little bit.
Squandered the chances, right up the hooters. And
I mean, I don't. Again, I wasn't around at the time, really. So I don't know what effect obviously the guitar. To me, I just listen to the songs and think they're all amazing. I don't really care who's playing guitar. The Schenker songs and the Tonka Chapman songs, I think they're all brilliant in their own regard. But at the time, I don't know how much of a difference that made to fans that Schenker went and did people go,
I don't know.
They've lost it, or who's this guy?
I actually think their commercial peak was post Schenker. I think it was like. No Place to Run, Mechanics kind of era.
Right.
I think that was when they were sort of. I'm sure my dad said that.
Should have had him on here.
Should he? Yeah.
We'd have had an hour's podcast on the UFO alone.
The classic rock encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure he said that the commercial peak was actually that early 80s sort of era. But yeah, that when people say UFO, it's fair to say most people think of, Strangers in the Night, the live album they did right at the end of the Schenker era, which it acts kind of like as a bit of a greatest hits kind of thing but they were a hard gigging band. They toured pretty relentlessly
globally.
Yeah, well, they had success in America, so that's I think they actually sort of based themselves there for a few years.
Well, I've read some tales of your man in America, so yeah. What's he called?
Pete Way.
Pete Way, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not the best place for him to.
Well, no. I read his book.
What it is, isn't it?
That's an interesting, illuminating read. But there's a few chapters in that are very dark and very very sad. Like in the 90s and that, but worth a read.
Yeah, bands like that. Friggin' hell, yeah. Then the 90s came around. Bands like that. You say Thunder suffered because of the 90s, and they were on. At least they had their rocket boosters on, so to speak. They were however high they were going, but the UFOs and the likes were really. It must have been a tough time, a really tough time.
Yeah, 20 years into the career. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's.
They toured Rush, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which is an odd
combination.
A bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I think this was a Hemispheres album or the Farewell to Kings when they were at the height, when Rush were at the height of their kimono wearing,
Yeah.
They're very, very self-depreciating about that now.
Totally
do the kimonos.
Totally do that.
Well, there's good stories that Geddy Lee tells about touring with UFO, that he'd come on stage and they've nailed like fluffy slippers next to the mic stands and things like this. But they said, Rush say that that it was good for them because it kept them kept them grounded,
down to earth.
and
I can't imagine a much more down to earth band than UFO. Really, I know they dressed up a bit on stage, didn't they? And some seriously spurious clobber over the years, but at the heart of it, they come across as very sort of hard working class kind of blokes.
But scrappers, weren't they? Like just they were great. Even like the last few times I went to watch them, and they were approaching 70, and there's still something about them and something about the songs that's
voice.
just
I think he is 100% unique. I have never heard anybody. I mean, you get your Robert Plants and your Rob Alfords and your maybe your Ozzy's to some degree. You're people that copy them and mimic them and sound like them and have a style on it or whatever. But nobody sounds or writes music like Phil Norton.
His phrasing is so unique, like you say, just the way he sings, like the way
Mexico TV.
He enunciates certain syllables and things. It's really cool.
Fantastic, yeah.
He sings absolute gibberish as well. It's not,
You don't care though, do you?
No, you don't. No,
it's one of them few bands you don't really care.
But it's still poetic. It's just really cool. And I think I've read somewhere that that's how he writes lyrics. He just thinks of cool sounding phrases and then strings them together, and I think Noel Gallagher does the same actually.
Brilliant.
He's mentioned.
There we go, full circle.
Yeah, back to full circle. Noel Gallagher's massive Phil Mogg fan. No, I'm only joking.
Oh, he nearly had me there.
Is he? Oh, he's a massive. He
might be.
He's a big Slade fan, isn't he? So
yeah, he's a big Slade fan. Yeah.
Anyway, we shan't dwell on them.
No.
UFO.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But if you have any underrated bands, or if you agree or disagree, we can take it. We're big boys.
Yeah, well,
post in the comments. Let us know.
I want to give an honourable mention to one band who I'm quite relatively new to fully appreciating. Delamitri.
All right. Yeah.
So, they've been around since the 80s. But the 90s for them, and talking to people who were, because they're a little bit more, we're talking a little bit more recent here. Delamitri's sort of commercial peak was in the 90s, but I still think they kind of had to. It was an uphill battle for them,
Yeah.
But they had like a staunch, a bit like Thunder, a staunch kind of hardcore following who clung on to bands like Delamitri and Thunder as like a life, and as like a sort of a life raft amidst the sea of grunge, that was kind of poetic, wasn't
it? I'm having that. Life raft.
So that's
almost as good as the rock sandwich one you gave on time.
The rock sandwich.
We are the bread.
Oh yeah.
And Alex is the lettuce.
That was a long time ago. I might have been drunk. But yeah, we need to. Just put them in again. Put them in some context, because like Delamitri are just
he's a mind-blowing songwriter as well.
Amazing songs. God. But so they're not underrated in that regard, because anyone who knows how good they are. But yeah, I think they were possibly overlooked.
Yeah, and a lot of that that's what underrated maybe comes down to is it's nothing to do with talent and it's nothing to do with songs. It's to do with PR essentially, isn't it? And how much commercial success you have, because that's what people see as success, don't they? Commercial success.
Yeah, radio. How many times you played on the radio? And but the thing is, like bands like that, they're always going to have last to know. Nothing ever happens. They're always going to get played on the radio. So I mean, they've always got that to sort of fall back on. Bona fide mega hits.
Yeah, they're going on the CDs, aren't they? Forever.
Exactly. Your dad. Your Father's Day compilation CDs. Yeah. Top Gear driving songs.
Give me them CDs every day of the week.
But there's some. Just skip Radar Love.
Born to be Wild. Whatever. Radar Love, yeah.
But yeah, that so there's bands like that. There's probably everyone's probably got their own version of underrated bands out there. So let us know which ones you think in the comments. It would be interesting to see, And it's also like maybe there's a threshold of popularity you need to achieve before you can even be classed as underrated, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
We never have to worry about that, do we?
No, well, yeah.
We're neither underrated nor overrated.
Underrated to me is a successful bands that maybe don't quite get, mentioned enough or played enough.
In the same breath as their peers.
Yeah, exactly.
Around the same time, like the Kinks. Yeah, Kinks considerably bigger band than maybe some of the other ones on the list, but still at the time, maybe underrated. Don't just get talked about as much as they deserve. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got to throw in. We won't discuss them, but there's a couple of other ones. Gun, Little Angels. I'm just thinking these off the top of my head. Skin, certainly. And these all have the 90s in common. Just maybe starting it just a little bit too late. Had great success early on, but then it just became very difficult, I believe, to navigate the grungy waters of the 90s. The Soundgardens and the.
It was just like a tidal wave, that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
completely.
Alice in Chains.
Yeah,
which is I wasn't there. It didn't really affect my life, but music has to move along, though, doesn't it?
Of course it does. Yeah. It sometimes has to move along for it to come back again, maybe, or to be reinvented, or it has to. Everything gets boring after so long. This rock has been around. It's been a musical force since the 50s, really, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Guitar music. So,
and
50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and then after the 90s,
it kind of had to happen as well, really. When the hair metal of the 80s got to, it got so ludicrous that there had to be some pullback, and it pulled back to the complete opposite. Where everyone was almost looking like they didn't want to be there.
Can't be asked. Yeah. No, I agree.
So
I agree.
Yeah, these things, they do swing around, don't they? But anyway, probably bored you enough with that.
Unlikely.
Check out the tour dates we've got coming up. Check out the merch. Check out Just check stuff out.
Just
really.
check it out.
Check out the other videos we've got.
If you're not asleep after this podcast, if you're still awake,
putting myself to sleep here.
You're still there.
No, we've got plenty coming up this year. Come catch a show
if you
fancy it. It should be good. I can't wait, actually.
And if you're into the band and you've never checked it out, check out Wagons World. We have a patron society. It's an amazing group of people, and we love being part of it. We love creating content, exclusive gigs, merch deals for tickets and stuff. It's we love doing it, and it's a big part of what we do now. So have a look at that if you.
Bowser Nudes.
Bowser Nudes. I have an Instagram page dedicated to Bowser Sunburn at the moment.
Yeah. Going to create a new Patreon account just for Bowser in provocative workman gear. Anyway, we'll leave you with that thought.
Farewell.
See ya.